Hey, what's happening,
What
man?
up? Dude, that hat you have in your profile, it begs to ask the question, like, does one's hat game get any better?
Dude, when I was recording um in the vocal booth, the producer had it in there for some reason. I didn't ask why. I didn't, so I couldn't help but put that thing on constantly. I don't know.
Right, hold on. I'm gonna add Christina to this.
Okay.
I like it though. It's dope.
Thank you, bro.
Okay. View gallery. There you go. I like it. All right. Well, I'm definitely appreciative of your time.
Oh,
Uh,
vice versa, man.
and the video really it hit home for me.
Oh yeah.
I'm a pussy though. That's
Me
like
too.
just I cry a lot, so it doesn't take a lot to make me cry or like get emotional with it. But um, is that for one? Congratulations! This is a great song,
Oh, thank you, brother.
um, and I only got to hear this one song, so now I'm like riveted about the whole album because of the way you started up. What was your so you have it in three pieces, from what I've been told.
Yeah, well, the video, the video you saw is part one of three videos. So the videos are all tied in together. So that's kind of the beginning, and then you have the basically a first, a second, and a third act. And so the next song, which drops in a couple weeks, will be the middle ground, and then the last one will sum everything up. I mean, when we made the videos, I just wanted to do something. I've been in HollyWood Undead for a long time, and our videos are always just as bright and as energetic and as much chaos as possible. You don't really get a chance to tell a story in those, I don't think, and I wanted to make these a little more personal, and honest, I guess, that would be the key word. So you got to be a little bit more vulnerable doing that stuff. But I found it, I'm kind of the same way as you, a pussy, so to speak. Like, uh, I watch kids movies all the time with my daughter. I just watched Moana last night, and I couldn't help but cry. And I'm kind of that same guy,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
so you
that's
know.
me.
Yeah, yeah. It's just like they're so touching. So I wanted to put as much of my own personal experience and emotion in the videos as opposed to a loud, you know, pyro and all that stuff. Those videos are cool, but I wanted these to be stripped down and kind of tell a story.
An empty house is such an empty house that was once lived in by a family.
Oof.
That right there, just the sound of that is
The energy when you go into those places, I'm not even saying, even if it's not your family, um, but just there's such a vibrancy to that life with kids running around and some foods getting cooked or whatever, the yelling, the fighting, the all the
toys
good,
on
the
the
bad.
floor.
There's such an energy, and then when it's gone, you sense it, and you sense that barrenness. And I think everybody has a childhood similar, in that sense, this nostalgia that I think brings you back. And sometimes you'll smell something that will remind you of it, or you'll see something. And as being a grown man now and raising children of my own, it makes me reflect that much more, I think, on those times, the good and the bad and the ugly, which I think is important for people. And I hope that kind of conveyed in the video. Like, if you have a haunted past, the only way to, I think, to get through that kind of purgatory is to face it.
The name of the song is Heaven Can Wait.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took some time to reflect on that. Like, what does that mean to me? And could I relate to that? And like last night, my son is a knucklehead, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's always waiting till the last minute to do his schoolwork. And like we're trying to pass this class, like last night, and
Yeah.
two nights in a row doing this, the meanest, dopest final we can do, so he can get past this class because he has a D. And that's the one thing I noticed is when I'm with my kids, heaven can wait. I'm
Yeah.
not I'm not in no hurry to do anything else.
Yeah.
I'm
Even
not.
paradise isn't appealing because,
Mhm.
that is paradise in its own way.
Yeah, and that really hit home. And then, bro, at the end of it, you burn the cleats.
Hmm.
That got me. That's like I was holding it together. I was being a man up until that point. And because me and my kid, we do football.
Okay.
I'm a coach and he's a
Right.
player. And to say goodbye, that's how I embrace the song, is letting go of childhood as a
Mhm.
parent or as an adult.
Yeah,
Um,
we typically don't wait till we're adults to let it go, or we never do. I mean, for that matter, I mean, it's hard to let go of those things. And I'm not even saying you should, but I think a big part of it, if you have fond memories, or like you were saying, you coach your kid or you're helping with homework, those aren't things you should ever let go. But I think a lot of people hold on to the things that they shouldn't hold on to, the painful memories or that process. And I think people would be shocked how much the pain from the adolescent years affects how you are as a human being later on in life, and can really hurt you and thus hurt other people. So it's very important, no matter how rotten something was or how bad something was, to go through that process of letting it go, because it can certainly ruin your adulthood in the same sense if it still has that power over you. And some people don't have those. Some people have wonderful childhoods and never have to deal with any of the hardships, and I envy them, or not envy them, but I'm happy for them. But for me, it was about, I wanted to make the song. The subject is, we have a purpose here on earth. And I think until we fulfill that, those things have to be set aside. As a human being, I think whether you're religious or not religious or anything else, we're here to fulfill some purpose on some level. We're not just meat bags walking around, consuming shit. I like to think that there's a higher calling for everyone, and that we're here for a reason, and we have to fulfill that role in our lives before we can move on to whatever it is anybody believes in afterwards.
are you writing this from a perspective of I need to let go of my childhood, or are you
Yes,
writing this? Oh, you are. Okay.
that's where it was coming from for me. But the beauty of songs, I mean, in music in general, is I was reading some YouTube comments on the video, and people's interpretation is much different than what I meant or what I was feeling. And I think that's awesome, because every experience in life, if I listen to a song, I love the Red Hot Chili Peppers, for instance. His lyrics are always extremely vague, so I take them and I apply them to what I'm going through, and it's perfect because he's not mentioning something so directly that I can only see it in that light. He's saying it in a sense that I could apply it to my life in some way. And so I've been really having a good time talking to people and reading about what people get from the message that they get from it. And I'm glad that people get different things at different moments.
Did you have a rough childhood?
Yeah.
You did.
Hmm.
Um, and so when you were, is this a part like a therapy for you to let go of some of the instances that happened that would allow you to uh, develop as a man?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, that's why I write music anyway. It's kind of an exercise, or a catharsis, I guess, for the experiences of my life, and a constructive way to use negative energy, otherwise. And for a long time, I channeled that into all the wrong things: drinking, drugs, being the thug, doing stupid stuff, because that was the only way I knew how. And when I discovered music, when I started taking it seriously, I was about 18, 19 years old, and I was definitely living the wrong way. I graduated high school in juvie, and uh, I was doing and I realized, and I had always played a little bit here and there. And when I got out, because I was in for about 19 months, I got out, and it was either kind of that way or the other way. And I started using music to place that energy there, as opposed to doing stupid things. And so music has always been kind of my therapist. It's the good person I talk to that isn't really there, I guess you could say. And so I channel everything I can that you could construe as negative, and try to make something positive out of it. In this case, it's music.
I was I had a fucked up childhood too. Like I had a real fucked up childhood, and that's one of the things. That's why one of the reasons I'm so like emotional all the
You're
time.
vulnerable.
Yeah, and it wasn't like that until I had kids.
Oh man, that fucks that changes everything.
Yeah, because I was just a dick. Like fuck it, I
Yeah.
don't give a fuck. Like
hmm
whatever. It's me first, and nobody else. But once you stop becoming the lead actor in your movie,
hmm
shit changes real fast.
it's unreal. And it's funny because having kids, the remarkable thing about it to me is I think it's the only way a human being will ever love something more than they love themselves. It's the only possibility, because you can marry someone and love your wife, but I think ultimately deep down you always care about yourself more. I think children are really the only time in someone's existence where they wholeheartedly and unselfishly and unconditionally love something more than they can love themselves. And when that shift, it's a huge shift because your whole life is focused on you. And now every all your energy is focused on this other person. And a lot of the times the good thing about, from my experiences and having those negative experiences, is I know to never bring them into my home, into my family and stuff. So I kind of look at like a responsibility to turn that shit around. Like you said, you being a dick or whatever the case may be. Now you have a kid and that kid's going to look up to you, and you have to go, I always keep that in mind when I'm not around my family, is what would my kid think if I did that? Would I tell my kid not to do it? If I would, why the fuck would I do it? It's a really good measuring stick for how to live your life. If your kid was watching, would you do that? And the answer a lot of the times, of course, no. So I try and I'm not saying be a total fucking square or some shit. I still like to have fun. I'm not being like a geek, but when you're into some heavy shit, you can be like, dude, I remember when my first daughter was born, I was still doing a lot of drugs, and I'd be doing blow or speed or whatever. And the guilt I started, because I never cared before. I was like, I don't give a fuck, if I OD, if what this, who cares? What do I have to lose? Then all of a sudden, it took me a while to regroup and become what I was supposed to, because I had this one life and now I had the kid, and for them to marry took a little time for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I started noticing that if I was getting fucked up or doing shit I shouldn't do, I was overridden with guilt all of a sudden. Before
Yeah.
I didn't care, but man, oh, my daughter, what if what if this goes bad and I don't make it or whatever? And all of a sudden I embraced it at one point about 10 years ago, and I've never looked back, and I've lived for them. And and I use my music now, I suppose, to communicate those things.
I remember I've experienced the same shit, dude. And it always hits you like if you're in the restroom by yourself in front of the mirror and you're washing it, that's when it would hit me. Like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? What
Yeah.
happens if, what happens if I did a little too much? What happens if it was laced with some shit?
Yeah, you don't know what you're
And
getting half the time.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a risky business, man, doing that stuff. And I don't like to preach to people, because I think people need to go through their own lives the way they see fit and learn their own lessons. You can't, but we have a really young audience and stuff, and I always try and convey, like with the songs we write about drugs, I write them in a sense that conveys them as negatively as possible, because that is the bottom, and I've been there, and I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. And that some people see it in a movie and think, man, that looks like a lot of fun, but they don't show the part the next day, or where you crying yourself, you can't even sleep, but all the pain that comes with
yeah,
it. And self-destruction's a rough road, and it is, some people for some reason are just programmed to have to go down that. I was one of those, but nothing could have stopped me until I did it. And I was just fortunate to hit rock bottom before I got killed or was dead or whatever. I was able to look up and go, oh my God. But some people aren't so lucky, because like you said, you get some shit and it's laced with something, or you OD, and you're probably laying there dying going, oh my God, I can't believe I blew it just for this. You know what I mean? So
dumb shit.
it's some dumb, it's not, none of that shit's worth it. So, I think music is the drug for me now. And I just kind of, I take everything I used to have to put into those negative things, and I channel it into something that I can make and that someone else might relate to and feel. And music has always been done that for me when I was feeling down. There was always musicians I looked to kind of get me through it and help me through that. And I hope that my music might play a part for somebody else.
One of the lyrics you said, I might butcher it.
It's okay.
I'd live on my knees if it meant I'd be next to you. That's, and I interpreted that as I'd give up everything.
Yeah.
Walking. Who was that directed to?
Well, my kids in that sense.
In that sense.
My responsibility towards them, like, as long as can be close, I can withstand any hurt as long as I'm with them. You know.
Yeah.
I can go through anything if it's with them. Because they ultimately take on all the meaning in your life, as they should. Because now I can take all that muck and all that shit I went through and use all of that to teach them, to show them that there's better ways. There's a better, I think one of the hardest things for people who have poor childhoods is once you have a child, you have to confront the fact that those people didn't care about you in the same way you care about your kid, and it makes you wonder why. You know what I mean? Because once you have a child and you love them that much, you have to consider, why weren't you loved in the same way? I was that person's child in the same way this person's my child. And confronting all that stuff is hard. And it's a hard thing to realize, but parents are human, and they're just as flawed as everybody else walking the face of the earth, some more so than others. And it's a tough thing to accept, but I figured I can make it through anything in this world if I'm with my kids, because I'm not worried about me anymore.
I feel that. When you are, let me see. The one thing I'm nervous about, because I had a shitty childhood and because I wasn't very close to my parents when I was getting older, so I don't understand how to have a relationship. Do you understand, with my children when I get older? And that right there is a fear for me, because I know as they get to be a teenager, they push away, and that's a whole nother bag of worms in itself, and a whole nother episodes of pain. Do you have that same thought in your head?
Yeah, I mean, my kid, she's 11, my oldest, so we're right around the window from that. But I think you just have to be there for them, and understand that especially during that time period, these people are getting molded, they're changing, they like different things every day. I just try and supplant myself as a father sometimes and become a friend, so that way I'm not all, of course I have to be an authority for a kid. Every kid needs that, but I also need to take that out and talk to her as an equal. And I let her know that if she wants to do something, for instance, and I don't think she should do it, I don't just tell her she shouldn't do it. I say, well, why do you think you should do it? And I'll explain why I don't think you should do it. And I speak to her as an equal. And I think that's important, because eventually you're always going to be their parent, but eventually you're going to be their friend. When you're 55 and your kid's 25 or whatever the case may be, it's going to be a much more friend-based relationship. You're equal now. So I think it's a good time to start transitioning towards being there for them as a friend and a parent. And slowly over time, that relationship is going to change naturally. The best thing you can do is go with it, because if you try and enforce that I'm your parent, you do what the fuck I say stuff, they're going to resent you and they're going to distance themselves from you, because they're their own people. At the end of the day, they may be young, but children are a lot smarter than us in many ways. I mean, kids are still in tune with who they're supposed to be. That's why like little things give them such a pleasure. They don't have material needs yet like we do. They don't care about what kind of car. You can drive your kid around in a fucking Pinto. He doesn't care. You're the one embarrassed. He's not worried about the shit you shouldn't worry about yet. And so I try and learn as much from my kids as I can teach them, and kind of keeping an open relationship in that sense, because my kids have taught me a lot.
Yeah.
I started eating baby food and shit again because it just looked good. I'm no joke. I used to get drunk and eat all my kid. Like, she has all these snacks, for her school, little gummies and shit. And I'm like, what is this? So I'll be all drunk in the pantry, and my wife gets pissed,
Oh yeah, that's me, dude.
Get her fruit gushers or whatever the fuck they're called.
Man, I'll get high at night, on a weekend or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just go into pantry, see what we got. Like those gushers, I put like 4 or 5 in my pocket.
Oh yeah.
And just go upstairs, and
Yeah, those things are trouble, bro.
Children and fucking gushers.
Yeah, these kids got it figured out. They get those crackers with like peanut butter in them and shit. I'm like, dude, I need to start eating. It's so bad. And then they got the little mac and cheese box. I don't know, because I try and eat healthy by and large, and I do. So I don't really see what she's eating until I get a little effed up, and then I'm like, what are these fruit roll up things?
Oh man, just talking to you really has cleansed my soul a little bit.
Oh man, well, vice versa.
To approach these topics is not something. It's not for other people, normal people. It's not an everyday thing. This is shit that goes in my head all the time.
It's funny. I mentioned that in a song once, in a HollyWood Undead song. If you say the stuff I say in music and I said it in a casual conversation, they would think I was nuts. They'd be like, dude, this guy's fucking crazy. If I went up to them in a conversation and told them the things I say in songs, they'd be like, oh, this guy's fucking crazy. When it's surrounded by the backdrop of music, it's okay. And the reason for that is because they feel the same way. They're just socially embarrassed, or so there's these social confines. Everybody has to pretend everything's cool all the time. You got to hold it together. So someone asks you how you're doing. Oh, I'm good. How's the kid? Good. Everything's fucking good. Because you can't be vulnerable and you can't say, oh, not so great today. I'm having a rough one or whatever. So people turn to music because they can't outwardly say the things that they feel. It's not socially acceptable. Go see a fucking therapist or whatever. So the things, in music and stuff like that, it kind of gives a voice to the stuff that you can't really say in a casual conversation. It's unfortunate you can't say it. I mean, of course, if you have your girlfriend or wife or a best friend, maybe there's that person that you can speak to. But obviously, if my neighbor came out and he said, how you doing? I said, man, some days I just feel like blowing my head off. I'd be like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? You can't say that stuff. And I get it. So I try, you can channel all that stuff into music. And I think people who don't write music look to that as the voice for themselves, who feel these ways and see these things the same way. And that it's not cool or not okay to go around telling people how you really feel. Unfortunately, that's just the way human beings are. We all got to man up or be tough or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Vulnerability is not an asset that people look for as a quality, unfortunately.
So it brings me to my last question for you. And is there anything else, anything that you would like people to know that we haven't touched on about this song or about this upcoming album?
Well, I haven't talked this is the first interview I've done for the Dead Sun project. So, yeah, you're my boy. So I haven't really thought that one through. I mean, the record, The Abyss, is just the story of, that journey inward. We're always looking outward. That's what we do. How do I get this? How do I do that? What's next on the to-do list? And very rarely do we have time to reflect and introspect. And that was kind of what the whole record was about, was an exploration into why I do the things I do, why I feel the things I feel, what drives those motives, ego, pride, jealousy, lust, everything that makes me, I guess, the worst angels of my nature. And I think it's important for everybody to do that on occasion, and so this record is really just that story of me going inward and finding out what I could find about myself. And it's only the beginning, because there's a lot more shit down there I probably need to look into.
Man, I can't wait. I really can't wait for the album. There's so much great music. It's like the third, person. You're the third person I've interviewed. I honestly can't wait for the rest of the album to come out.
Oh, thank you, man. Well, dude, we got a new song coming in. I think it's 2 weeks, and it's the second chapter of Heaven Can Wait. It's called All Gone, and
oh no,
that's actually my favorite song.
That's gonna hurt me, man. I can just the words are gonna hurt me.
This one, if you thought that one, this one's like really fucked up. But the good thing is, so I modeled these videos and the songs after, there's a writer named Dante. He wrote some books, 3 books. It was 1 book, but it got divided into 3, called the Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso. It was in Latin. So it's hell, purgatory, and between heaven. And so the first video is hell. The second one is purgatory, and the last one is paradise. So the next one's probably the roughest of the bunch, but the last one kind of ends it in I wouldn't say a positive way, but it's not, you know, you got to go along the whole trip and stuff. And I think the All Gone one, that's probably my favorite song off the record because it's the closest to home. But it all ends. It's kind of a happy ending, I guess.
Well, man, yeah, you're a beautiful artist. You have a
Well, thank you,
beautiful
bro.
mindset, and I am 100% gracious for our time tonight or today. Good luck with it.
Thank you, man.
You deserve it, dude. That
Oh,
is,
thank you.
it's touching.
I appreciate it, man. I'm glad that we have that connection now, and that you felt it the same way I felt it, bro. I really am.
My man. All right, buddy. Have yourself a good day. Be safe out there.
I hope I get to talk to you again, man. It's been great. One of my favorite interviews I've ever done. I've been doing this for like 15 years.
Man, I appreciate that.
You got it, bro. I mean it too.
I fucked up on an interview earlier today.
Yeah, we're born to fuck up. What we do, we're fuck ups.
Not bad, but it's just not, I aim for interviews like this, and I just was all fucked up earlier. I was like, oh my God.
We're all human beings, bro.
Yeah.
Don't stress on it.
Well, this makes up for it, man. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. You too, bro.
Hey, I look forward to hearing from you again. I'll follow you on social media, and when your album comes out, I'm gonna do another write up on it for you.
Oh, dude, I appreciate it. Send me, and I'll look you up on social media, and maybe we could do this again once the record comes out, because I'd love to follow up and hear what you think about the rest later on, if you can do it.
Dude, yeah, for sure, no problem.
Okay, cool.
All right,
okay, we'll look up, man. Cheers, brother.
Have a good one. Bye bye.